welcome to Back to the Topic. We're back at Cave. I'm here with the very wonderful
Gabriel Andreu,
Karen Turner,
and Constantine Elijah. And today is The Right Angle by Helen Benson. It's on the 29th of April to 2nd of May 2021. A selection of screen prints from 2015 to 2021. For this exhibition, I have chosen prints of various styles relating to my travels. Initially, I take photographs which trigger off printing ideas. I respond spontaneously to visual images which excite me, never mind their content. A chance arrangement of shapes attract me in relation to light, shadow and reflection. Lines crossing each other create an energy found particularly in modern buildings, scaffolding and other structures. Patterns develop through the printed layers.
So the technique is she takes pictures, no?
Yeah.
And then after she makes that kind of patterns from the pictures in the screen printing.
For screen printing, yeah. They're all screen prints except for the two
Collage.
collaged pieces.
That is my favorite ones.
Gabrielle's favourite, which is wonderful. This is pure collage, and this is her most recent work as well, I think.
But it's pure collage based on the screen printers.
It's her prints, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
These
That's
were
true.
her prints from her degree show. She graduated in 2014 from London Met.
2014.
2014, the year
So
after.
the name of work is
And she's 80.
She's 85 years old.
So it's
she
another.
was 75 when she went, well,
I love it.
70. She done it for 8 years as a mature student and part-time.
Part-time, yeah.
And it took her 8 years to do it, but she was 70 to 78, I'm guessing, doing her fine art degree. How fucking amazing is that? She's a bit of a superstar. You all need to come down and meet her. But this work, the new collage work, is her degree show work.
the name of
destroyer.
these two works is Rise and Slide.
Rise and Slide, yeah. She titles really lovely. I love titles on work, and I quite like titles where the titles from these have come from. But I know that this was print work that she made for her degree show, I think, that she took great pleasure in ripping up and remaking and re-looking at it in a different way and creating these beautiful, beautiful, colourful collages.
Well, for me, it's my favorite one.
It's your
I don't know if it's because now I'm doing collage, but it's like, if you can see the base of the collage is one all print. And then she rip the other ones and then she put it above, which kind of glue. I'm really interested in all the technique always, but I don't know which one because it looks like some parts, they are not totally glued. So it looks like, the paper when you rip it from a poster or and it leaves all these white parts here, quite rugged. Yeah.
So it's left texture.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
A lot of
it has
texture too.
3D volume. I would say.
Yeah, it gives this 3D volume to the, to the flat kind of 2D.
2D images.
It makes like a layering similar as the installation she has.
Installations. We
In a
have
different way, like
Yeah, we have two installations that are glass.
their
Can we
perspex.
say?
I think
Perspex,
she loves.
okay.
She was expressing.
We
and
have
we have
in the
this as
entrance
well.
another.
This isn't perspex. This is like corrugated plastic that she's printed on.
which is on entrance.
Yeah. And she's the perspex, so like little A4 sheets that she has printed on, which are, perspex sheets with different colours. She made the little plinths that they hang on. She said, I had these made by the lovely Rob, who used to work in the woodwork at London Met. So she had one of them and then she had to get some others made for later work. But I think this one is just spots, which is beautiful. I love her one-word titling. And the other one, the blue, grey and yellow, relates to the print that was made before, above.
This one is not. It's kind of a printmaking and then the print on the glass.
On the glass. She really likes printing on glass and perspex. She enjoys.
It's the same. Is the same print printed on the paper, and then the same print
It's nice, so you get that reflection
on the glass.
Yeah.
So
which talks a lot to the perspex installation sculptures.
Again,
it looks like
volume.
this. Sorry.
It gives volume. Again, it looks like 3D.
This too looks like kind of water.
The pebbles and water.
It has a lot of water. Actually.
Pebbles and water.
They've all got specific titles.
And actually, speaking about that, the only two black and white works here.
It's the water and the pebbles.
Ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow.
Yeah. Actually, I really like it.
It's beautiful,
but
isn't it?
It looks much better from the distance when I look at that, because I don't see the details.
When you get up closer, it's interesting because when we was hanging, I went to hang it a different way, which and
curator asking to the artist.
Yeah,
and which way?
Which way does it go? Luckily, one thing Helen does do beautifully, and it's something that I never thought was important or
everything is important.
Interest. Everything's important, I suppose. But as I've learned over these last sort of 7 years, when I've curated lots of different work, especially in the last 5, is she really considers her framing. And it's expensive framing, we all know
it's expensive.
That you do make photography, and both of you.
And it's really important then how you portray, your work, but sometimes, you can afford the framing, because if you have to frame a really big photo, for example, it's just so expensive.
It's so expensive. But the one thing I love about Helen, and we was talking about that when we was discussing pricing, which is always something comes up when we're curating a show, is some artists come in and they're really clear, and they know their price level and everything, and she's exhibited quite a lot. We discussed pricing, and when you frame really well, these things have to be considered.
Normally, sometimes when you go to the galleries, it's like the price is kind of 3 price, the price that you can sell the print with the frame or without the frame. In photography happens a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I said that to Helen. She says, "Is it too expensive?" I said, "No, I think your work is priced really, really well, and really reasonable. And you've taken into account that these are, I've had people buy works from especially antiques, and they'll go, I don't really need the frame, because if someone's just sort of popped it into a frame just for the sake of framing it, people will maybe invest." And that's what I said. She's got a print rack here that's got some of her prints in, which means that if someone wants a sort of cheaper idea, they can buy just the prints, which is nice to always have that choice.
Well, yeah, of course, because then it's...
They've all been mounted beautifully.
The Passepartout.
What's the word?
Passepartout.
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 The French word. So babes, we don't know really well.
Phileas Fogg used to use Passepartout, and he was moving around the world. This is something Nigel mentioned earlier when he heard you to use the word.
This is the Eiffel Tower.
I love this.
Do you know what this is?
Yeah, it's the Eiffel Tower, which is
the Eiffel Tower.
These are pylons.
No. Yeah, no, it's the Eiffel Tower.
No, it's the Eiffel Tower.
Because it looks like that other one that I really like.
My favourite.
The reality is like, if you have a gallery, at the end you start to have a collection.
Definitely.
And as an artist, if you have to, if you can afford a collection, or at least some pieces that's an artist that you like,
Always.
And it's quite normal, that a lot of galleries.
Today I was.
This is so industrial. Sorry.
She loves architecture. It's the same as the one behind you.
It's so.
Yeah, they're solid.
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
It's Liverpool. I love it.
What's the title?
Save You.
CBUs, but you can see, I don't know.
City View, yeah.
No, CBUs too.
CBUs too.
Water.
But
It doesn't say anything about
for
Liverpool.
me, it looks like, Liverpool. I love Liverpool. As a city, I think that is one of the most amazing
not
cities
sure.
that you have in
Why
UK.
Liverpool? Because Liverpool is
Because
not
you
on
have
the
this
sea,
kind
but
of
it's
but you don't have a sea
Sky,
really. You have a
sea.
it's the Mersey.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of the the river that is really kind of the big part of the river that is going to the sea, but it's not really the sea.
So it's like the estuary in Kent.
Yeah,
the estuary at like Lee and stuff.
But then you see the industrial part of Liverpool. It has this kind of
So it reminds you that industrial part.
For me, it's a bit. When I saw Liverpool for first time, it reminds me Bilbao.
Yeah,
what is the Guggenheim Museum of Guggenheim Bilbao? Bilbao is an amazing city, but before Guggenheim, it was a really dark industrial, and because the smoke of the chimneys, it was really dark all the city. And the river was really disgusting. So it wasn't a nice city. And then the Guggenheim came and was a really massive change in all the city. Not only because the Guggenheim, because the industry disappeared too. So
same as in this country.
Exactly. So it's a bit like Liverpool. You go to Liverpool, you have the Tate Liverpool that is really nice, and you have all this part of the Docklands that now. It's not the Docklands anymore. It's fancy hotels, fancy restaurants.
We went there.
It's the Tate. I have been so many times in Liverpool.
Have you done tours there?
Yeah,
okay. I've only been once, and it was when me and Maria were doing Big Bright Blooms, and we had our own business, and we got invited to the This Morning show a couple of times. Morning TV. It's on. It was, and we'd been invited, and they used to film in Liverpool, on the docks. And on the waterfront, and we got invited there, and they flew us to Liverpool. We were just cracking up. We flew.
But really, if you can go by train.
I know. Me and Maria were arguing about who's going to get the window seat on the plane.
Really?
And
I really don't understand to fly to Liverpool because it's so nice, the train to Liverpool.
ITV television company that was running This Morning. They wanted us to come on the show and talk about the flowers that we were making.
Okay.
And because we've been on things like the Generation Game, I'm talking about, it was quite funny. They'd invited us to come on, and they flew us to Liverpool. And me and Maria were just laughing at the idea of being flown to Liverpool. And we got to the airport, and we was arguing about who's going to sit on the window seat. And we got on. And I won, and I sat at the window seat. I said, we'll swap halfway through. We was there in 25 minutes. It was ridiculous. It took longer to get through customs and to do all that and it was like, who flies? But it was a really good day, They did.
Well, flies really people that is coming from, another overseas, going to London and then to Liverpool.
It was all very nice. But we flew to Liverpool.
I love Liverpool. This is one of my favorite cities in UK. It's like first has this industrial thing, then then they have this kind of amazing. Places like Adelphi Hotel. I used to stay in the Adelphi Hotel. That used to be like kind of the Titanic. Has a related history with the Titanic because the employees of Titanic, they were practicing there before they moved to the Titanic in Southampton because the Titanic left from Southampton. And then has two cathedrals. The fifth biggest cathedral in Anglican Cathedral in Europe.
Okay.
And then kind of really modern Catholic cathedral. So they have the two cathedrals.
And what's the Tate like? I've never been to Tate Liverpool.
Tate is a small Tate, if you compare with the Tate here, because it's massive and everything is massive. But it's really nice because it's kind of 3 floors, could be, if I remember well. And it's...
Do they have a good permanent collection there?
They have a good permanent collection.
The same as...
They had if I remember, it's a few years that I haven't been now in Liverpool. If I remember, was like one that was kind of the permanent collection, but they changed quite often because is a big collection.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 of these exhibitions from the moment. So they have really good exhibitions, really good shows.
Oh, I'll have to put it, so I should put Liverpool on my badge.
And then it's the Biennial. They have the Biennial of Liverpool that I have been one time only, and it's really good to the Biennial.
Have you been?
Biennial?
To Liverpool?
No.
No.
Premiere.
I've been to Manchester. I've got friends in Manchester.
I was just walked from one station to another, which situated close to each other.
For me,
That's all.
It's so easy for this when you told me that you flew.
Well, I don't know, I'm going to take us back to the topic. Back to the topic.
Back to the topic.
I don't know whether any of Helen's work is inspired. You'll have to ask her about the print that you feel Liverpool in.
I feel Liverpool in that.
We have obvious Paris, because we have Eiffel Tower influence.
I have one memory related to Paris, which is somehow related how print or works in general could be actually very personal. Because that one with Paris, it brings back my memories about that city, but it's a very personal experience. Because with university we were traveling to Paris photo.
Was this a school trip?
Yeah,
okay.
But it was exactly the same time when in Paris that shooting happened.
Oh,
It was Friday.
I sort of remember. I remember people.
And
going,
exactly when it started, exactly that shooting thing, we were on the Eiffel Tower.
Right. Okay. Wow.
So we didn't know what was happening. We were on the top of the Eiffel Tower, looking around, how beautiful the jokes, and seeing some cars with the siren.
The
going like strange, but.
Wow.
I'm experiencing Paris, and it wasn't first time when I was there, but it was the strongest memory. When we went downstairs, we didn't know that, and when we took underground or metro, and
that's when you found out.
Some of other found out, and we shared with each other, and we read the news when we were underground there.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because that sort of.
And I remember the moment, when we're traveling, when every one of us knew what was happening, and the moment before when we were happy, how cool to be there, in the Paris, and like school trip, but we are adults.
Of course.
Young adults, but still
school
adults.
trip.
So I love that. I always called it a school trip.
Yeah, but it sounds kind of.
University was like being at school.
And then the moment after, when everyone understood, but we weren't much speaking about it, just looking at each other, and that like a silent moment, like a bit scared. Definitely, we were scared because.
So when you see that, you're scared now. When you see that,
I'm not scared. I remember this memory.
It's just memory in that memory, yeah.
I think if I'm going when I'm speaking about them, of course I'm going deeper into my memories, and I'm going closer to that experience. How in that night at the hotel when we stayed, when we were
after the shootings.
Yeah, when Paris was closed because it was happening. So we weren't allowed to stay next to the windows. The only place was for that they had bar on the
at least they had,
underground again.
At least they had a bar.
Yeah,
most important.
I mean underground, but not train underground.
Yeah.
So with no window, so we all went there and get drunk.
Yeah.
Like dancing because
that's a school trip.
That's a school trip. Even under, terrorist attacks, anything that's going to happen.
You just get
hammered
get to the underground bar
and get partying.
So of course the next days everything was closed, so we couldn't attend any event, obviously, but because of that attack. And when we were traveling back, we were traveling by train through the tunnel. On the border. They didn't want to let one of our students go through because she looks like.
It certainly was him.
I don't know how to say it. Like.
Like someone from the Middle East. Gosh, Constantine, pull yourself together.
Yeah, from that
he was
region.
Arab looking.
Yeah. and
How
German,
crazy
so
is
he had
that?
troubles to. But no, he.
You know what? That's
He's British citizen.
sometimes, traveling depends how you look.
Well, anyway, yet again, it's me. Look at this. It's me getting us back to the topic.
Thing
But
is,
no,
we are talking about traveling.
We are here talking
Yeah,
about traveling.
this is about traveling, so it's all
So
related.
we're sort of on topic.
We are, right now we are traveling in our memories.
We are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are
because
into
of
the
these
topic.
works.
Exactly, Constantine. Sorry, Constantine is saying because of these works we are talking about traveling, and this is what is giving us this traveling.
This is, Helen Benson, the artist. It's her travelling tour. And I love that it takes us. This is the beauty of art, that we as a group of three.
I would say it's our traveling because of her traveling.
Yeah, because of her travelling.
That's good.
Definitely, that's beautiful. And, her inspiration has come from Venice. So we went to, did you come on the Venice school trip?
I wasn't.
I want to.
But I love
I guess.
Venice. Venice is like for me,
It was my first and only time.
It's beautiful.
Venice.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's a fairy tale. It's like you go there and you just
it's
get
just beautiful.
lost.
Yeah.
And it's like the best thing is to get
Do
lost.
you know the beauty of getting lost in Venice? It comes with this added excitement because, I've been lost in many cities. I've been lost a lot.
I don't get lost there.
And I quite enjoy getting lost. It doesn't scare me
But
getting lost.
the thing is,
But getting lost in Venice,
With our smartphones, it's
you can't
we're not
just
scared.
pull a taxi to take you
I know
home.
you can pull a taxi,
You
but
can't-
it's so
it's
expensive.
not- yeah, but also, it's not going to get you to your front door.
Well, depends
it's not gonna-
where you
If
stay.
you know what is the front door.
On the canals, not by the beach. Obviously, by the beach is like
I haven't been there, by the
in
way.
Venice. We went to the beach when we was in Benidorm, and I remember I'd been on Venice for 3
the
days.
Lido, yeah.
And I'd been on Venice for 3 days, and it was all just canals. We got lost so much.
No
and it's
public
not like you
transport
can get-
apart of the
But
boats.
this is the nice
That's
thing.
what I mean.
Perfect.
No, but
It's
this
perfect
is
place
the
to-
nice thing. It's like you go through this small, tiny street,
Doesn't matter.
and then suddenly it's like, it's the water.
And it opens, but also they
A lot of water.
Yeah, but it's the water. You cannot
and
go
you
further.
squeeze in between buildings.
Yeah.
Do they have automats placed on the street when you can buy cigarettes? Like
Yeah.
you have from the machine.
Yeah, the cigarette
In
machine.
Venice, you can buy cigarettes from them.
Well, look, we
We
used.
used to do that here. as
Yeah,
well.
we used to
We
do
never
that.
had it.
We have a
You never had
cigarette
it in
machine out the back.
Latvia?
No, we never had that machines, but we'll probably be.
Maybe in pubs.
I
or
know, but I like
bars.
that.
We
I
could
like-
buy it in
I-
the pubs until
Yeah, in the
some
bars.
recent moment. And
But
then
no,
they
Venice is great
and then-
because they do have machines.
Well, we used to have a lot of machines in Spain. The thing is, I think that now a lot of people smoke just tobacco.
Yeah.
So Risla.
It's much cheaper.
Yeah, it's much cheaper and it's more healthy.
Smoking is harmful to your health.
Yeah, I have.
Why still street telephones still exist?
For tourists to take pictures.
Because it doesn't take money. It
think
takes.
you know-
No, still
I
some
think-
of them that they
I
still
think,
working.
yeah.
Well, because it is an emergency. Imagine, I don't know, if someone
believe
comes
in-
to me,
Any of them still works?
yeah.
I think some of
Or
them do.
people use them apart from rolling joints?
Well, the very lovely Glenn Ritchie's, an artist that we all sort of study on.
yeah.
He'd left before, but he was here at the weekend. But he has done an amazing project. He works with glass and makes the most beautiful stained glass. And there's a telephone box, a red telephone box by Temple Station.
I love it, yeah.
And he just sort of off his own back just created, this telephone box had just been abandoned, all the glass had been broken, and he created one panel of one side of this telephone box with a beautiful stained glass Knights Templar, so it related
Yeah, it's
to
a Knight
the
Templar,
area.
yeah.
And it's amazing, and he has put his name on it, and over the years it's been there for a good couple of years now, and he's had to do a few little fixings, but he applied when he was here last time. He's been very involved with Cave. He's always put his work into antifreeze and always sold. His work sells very well.
He's doing the stained glass.
He does stained
Yeah,
glass, yeah. And which actually, looking at these collages, there's elements of that sort of feel about them, especially the paper ones. So I encouraged him to apply to the Arts Council because he was telling me the story of phone boxes, the red phone boxes in London, and I want to get this right, but they belong to British Telecom.
Yeah.
But they do not maintain them. So that's why they look shit, right? But if you are a
the city
business,
has to...
well, no.
So it's another company that is
another
taking
company,
care of them.
So they don't maintain them.
Yeah.
So,
Like not their responsibility.
but they
for
will
them.
sell them. You can buy them as a business, as an individual, because Glenn was looking into it to see if he, how much are they to buy, but leave them where they are to so own them within their space, because obviously they're a big attraction to tourists, although we don't have tourists anymore, unfortunately.
But it's going to be for tourists because London is related with the red one.
With the red phone box, like the black taxi and everything. But he sort of looked into it, and businesses can buy them for like...
Fortune.
for for like £1. Like really, it's not £1, but it's really cheap if you're a registered business. But obviously Glenn isn't a registered business. But what he wants to do...
self-employed now?
I don't know whether self-employed. I think it means, if you've got
it's
a
different if you are self-employed or you have your own business. It's two different things.
Two different things. If you're, if you're a big office building
it's unfair.
No, it doesn't matter if you have a business, because the thing is, it's not so difficult to have your own business to,
Well, I have
to
my
register your own business.
We could buy some phone boxes, and then
As a cave.
as cave business. But I could be slightly wrong here. Glenn will come in and put me right. But he said the way I sort of remember it being explained was that BT own them, but aren't under any obligation to maintain them. So he has written an Arts Council proposal to claim some of these phone boxes and make these beautiful stained glass art things.
Claim means they're still gonna stay on their place, or
maybe they'll stay as
removed?
BT, or no, they still stay in the same place. So he will create glassworks that represent things that are going on in his city. He lives
in London.
That's interesting.
And in London, and hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know whether he's heard from them yet.
It's a good idea to apply for Arts Council.
It's sort of community based, which is very important at the moment, especially what we've all been going through with COVID. And his idea is to maintain these phone boxes with beautiful stained glass that relates to what is happening within that area, whatever area he chooses. And because he's very committed politically and to what London is about, he wants to represent diversity and things. So fingers crossed he will get some funding. It's the sort of stuff that, I think he's already planning a little sort of Banksy-esque one.
Well, no, but I don't see it as a Banksy at all. Okay, I see it more like, for example, Eduardo Paolozzi, Tottenham Court Road.
Now I need to Google it.
Go on, I don't know this.
The station.
Tottenham Court Road.
Yeah, exactly. All the mosaic that you see inside is Eduardo.
On the tube station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, it's Eduardo Paolozzi.
But has he had permission to do it?
Well, he's dead now. He was commissioned to do that. But in a way, what Glenn is asking is the same. It's kind of to have a founding, to get the permission to do that. But it could be really, I think that it's just putting art in the streets.
Public places.
In a public place.
Art,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, tourists and people that maybe don't go to a gallery, they might have their photo taken.
Then I relate that is totally the same that Trafalgar Square. You go to Trafalgar Square and you see, the sculpture that they put every 2 years. I don't know who won this time.
It's the ice cream with...
Yeah, now it's the ice cream, but who has won for next year?
Sorry, apologies.
Sorry, sometimes it's so many artists. Exhausted. Back to the topic, sponsored by Cave.
Back to the topic, sponsored by Cave.
Back to the topic is sponsored by...
Sorry.
Back to the topic.
Back to the topic. We are here. I'm going to read the second half that I didn't read earlier of Helen's statement, which is quite interesting because our conversation did go down a sort of line of travel and moving around the world. So, fragments of Venice are all windows from a large print of Venice, influenced by looking out from a vaporetto through glass distortions. Shifting dots is probably influenced by the many hours in my life of looking at music scores. Ebb and flow, this reflection which I saw in a Hampstead pond was so vivid and clear. The Mount Kazbek series from a trek I made up the tiny St. Samiba Church in the Caucasus, Georgia. Then looking up at the enormous Mount Kazbek towering above. During lockdown last year, I made large collages from old prints, a very physical experience. Unable to change the images on my screens, I have enjoyed experimenting with overlapping different images with surprising results. Many thanks to Cave and Karen Turner for hosting this exhibition. It will be on from Thursday to Saturday, 12 to 6 p.m, Sunday, 12 to 4. Or check her out online, you know, she's just quite mind-blowing, helenbenson.com. She has a great website.
Thank you.
Designed by Constantine. So these prints, they're all screen prints and quite interesting, you know, because screen printing, I don't know how popular it is now, you know, is it?
No, but this is what I wanted to came up with this topic about screen printing. How famous was in the 60s, 70s with
Andy Warhol.
Exactly. And then it's like how you see less and less. And if you go to an art fair or an exhibition, it's kind of has become something, I don't know, it was because it was such a big thing in that moment that now you see less.
I haven't seen, obviously this last year has been quite sort of limited in the artworks that we've seen for
I think most of people haven't seen last
year. Last year doesn't count.
Yeah,
no, it didn't exist.
We have to
last year doesn't count.
Dismiss last
year. Go before. But I remember, just remember in the university, you know, we came from the same university, the three of us, from London Met. The cast, London Met Arts now, because the cast is gone.
Thank you for promoting us.
Thank you for mentioning our
But as I said to you before, you know, it's two of the best things that was for me in London Met was screen printing and photography.
Screen printing, printmaking.
Well, they call it printmaking.
Screen printing they had as well.
I
used to do a little bit.
We're talking about, you know, printmaking as a practice.
Yeah.
You know, some people, and there's so many different elements from lino cut, cyanotype printing. I've learned more probably, and photography is all about printing and screen printing. I experimented for one term at Camberwell, which has a great print room, while I was on foundation with screen printing, and oh my God, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, but only spent this sort of month, my year at Camberwell on foundation was very experimental, and I tried everything. But I'd sort of tried, and I really enjoyed it.
That is foundation about.
That's a foundation.
It's about experimenting where you want to.
And that's exactly what I'd done, but obviously just not enough. When I finished there's just not enough time. When I finished, I remember when I finished my foundation year, or during that last term, and one of my tutors, Dave Fusco, he was a great tutor. He never run out at the end of the day, you know. If we was in a conversation, he stayed in the conversation and didn't just sort of disappear. He was it was vocational. His work was, anyway, he turned around to me, and obviously a lot of the younger students that were on foundation, they were applying for BA. And he said to me, he says, so what are you going to do? You know, my foundation was a bit of a fantasy art school year. And he said, what are you going to do? Are you going to go on and do a BA? And I said, oh, can't I just do this again for another year? You know, oh, how joyful would it be to, joyful, that sounds really jolly. How joyful would it be to just do foundation for like 4 years? Just keep repeating that experimental stuff, which was so much fun. And screen printing was something that I had a really small teaser of. And I made some nice work, but I no way experienced it. And that's with all printmaking. When I graduated in 2013, the one thing that I'd sort of come out of art school going, oh my God, I just want to learn stuff. I haven't really learned stuff on this degree. And I signed up through Westminster City Council. I hadn't learned practical things.
But this is the discussion that we always have.
We always have
it. I always have
what
that.
I'd done, because I was on benefits, I'd started claiming dole money and benefits straight after my degree. I got all these opportunities, especially in Westminster, to do free courses. So I'd done printmaking course, and I was doing acid etching and screen print and cyanotypes and all this stuff. And I thought, oh my God, I wish I'd spent more of my degree doing screen printing, and especially at London Met, at the School of Art and Architecture, in that first, you know, the years that I was there, the tutors that run the screen print room.
Who was that?
David Skingle, who sadly died, and everyone was just heartbroken because he was I didn't really know him, but he was an absolutely amazing. And one of my favourite tutors at London Met was Nigel Oxley, and the reason why I didn't do printmaking with him, although he was an amazing printmaker, I done life drawing with him. It was the last year that life drawing was available as a module to do during your degree, and I had the best year, and it felt a little bit like a guilty pleasure. It wasn't always encouraged by all tutors, you know, but to me, drawing underpins everything, and I'm so grateful for that year that I'd done of life drawing.
But why you didn't do printmaking?
The reason, I don't know, I was too busy doing so much other stuff. I got right into the woodwork and the pottery. You know, Fred in the pottery rooms, I had the best time. And I'd get into the woodwork, and I was getting into, they had machines that done shrink moulding and stuff, so plastic, you know, and I was experimenting so much there. There's just not enough time.
No, it's not enough time to do
and
everything,
the print room
of course.
was somewhere where I was always a bit intimidated by it, to be honest, for myself through print.
No, for me, it's like just related with, you know, screen printing. It's like related like photography and talking about art and uniqueness.
It's not photography.
No. But
my subjective view.
Talking about, if you talk about art market,
Yeah.
you know, like between brackets.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
screen printing, you use paint. Even
It's paint, but it's a reproduction, so you can do it many times as you want.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it's a bit like photography, so then the value is less in the art market. You know, it's always what happened with that. It's if I find it really interesting that in London Met, the two ones that they always teach you really good technique was photography and printmaking.
Yeah.
And then there are the ones that in the art world and art market, more than the art world, the art market.
I must feel honored because I was studying both of them. Like the first year I spent with photography, but later I was going to screen printing.
You know, but they are the two of them that they have their moments in the art world and the art market mostly, I would say.
Market.
But then because they are not unique, you know, because you have a reproduction here, we have you
not
can
unique.
See, no, you can see in Helen. This is
why?
an edition of 5. So normally photography and screen printing, you have an edition of 5 screen printers or more. You know, you can
Oh,
have.
okay, yeah.
So because they are
In photography, I can understand you can do exact copy, more likely, more possible.
And
But with screen printing,
you can do the exact copy if you want.
if you're
You've
very
got to be quite competent.
if you're very professional, yes.
Yeah, you have to be quite competent.
I've
Have
never
you
been
done screen
professional in screen
To
printing.
be able to get, you know,
They are all
unless you
different.
keep it and unless you keep it quite simple, you know. When I say simple, I don't mean the work is simple, but
And Sibella was
sort of-
doing her
Sibeli was doing stuff with the printmakers
in the
something
south,
in
you
Deptford.
know, in Deptford.
Yeah, that was the Minesweeper. The Minesweeper, which was a old Minesweeper ship that was moored at Deptford, and some artists had taken it over in a squatting way, but they got funding, I think, through the Arts Council, and they created the most amazing sort of screen print rooms on this boat. Me and Fred visited actually once a few years back, and they created these most amazing print rooms from sort of upcycled stuff, and just it was fascinating. But then the Minesweeper burnt down. It burned, and it burnt away. And anyway, so that was in Deptford. But the art hub, back to the topic. It was an amazing thing, and the Minesweeper Collective are still going. So although they don't have the Minesweeper, I think the collective themselves, that were a group of artists from all over, quite outsider artists, and gone through institution, and they created these most amazing. And Sibeli was very involved in that. But
What I really like, I think, is how Sibel mix that, you know, heritage, Brazilian heritage.
heritage.
Heritage, yeah.
Her I love.
In
I've got her
printmaking,
prints.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's like,
She's an amazing printmaker, Sibeli. Yeah, she makes beautiful. But a lot of hers is screen and lino cut, and that sort of. There's something really quite raw, I think, about lino cutting and then sort of mark making through this repetitive process, and it's not all the same.
no,
It's that, you know,
that
you
is really,
can't
no, that is,
reproduce
of course,
like
you know, it's like
There's always slight differences, you know.
I mean,
slight.
it's the
I love
same
it.
that if you print, well, it's not the same. If you print a photo, you know, you have an edition of 5. You print the 5 in one go with the same print, because you have calibrate your screen, because this is another thing. You have to buy this calibration for your screen.
So that's digital printing, and I don't see any of this work. Helen's is all about the ink and about the print, and although there's repeats
Are
within,
you telling me that there's a difference between that and the other? Because we're gonna have a really nice discussion.
I think when you're working with inks and liquid materials,
But you work with
but
inks.
not through technology, through your hand. Let me finish.
Oh my god.
I think you're likely to, you know, that's the beauty of working in screen print, is you can get these, you can perfect it. And like I was saying, Luke, who makes really, really great posters and slogan sort of work, I've bought a couple of his pieces. One was a Guinness, it was like a take from an old Guinness poster, and it says Guinness cures Corona. So I bought that for Nigel, because Nigel's a Guinness drinker.
Your full name.
Luke Merriweather, he is at the Art Hub in Deptford, but he does sort of screen printing where he uses text a lot. And obviously he's a very, very, very skilled screen printer, and he can run off print after print after print of these texts, and he can put them on t-shirts, things like that. I don't see Helen's work like that.
Oh,
Helen's work, there's series of prints, and there's slight differences in all of them. Although, and it was interesting with curating this show, Helen bought, I just said to Helen, like I say to all the artists that come here, unless you're really clear, you know, Fred last week, he was really clear on what he wanted to do. We talked a little bit about placement of objects, but With Helen, I just said to her, she said, I don't know what work to bring, what not to bring. I said, bring everything you want and we will lay it all out and we'll look at it. And we could have just gone with one print from every series. We could have just picked our favourite and just had one of every print from every series.
No, it's good you have more.
But to be honest, they're all different to me. Although they come from the same block and they're coming from the same print, they're all, when you stand in front of each one's, and we've got a series of 3, we've got a series of 4, series of 9, a series of 2.
But we're coming to the same discussion because you just, I'm going to go back to the topic. No, we were discussing something that I am really interested in. This week that I was mentoring, this artist, and he was like doing this NFT. So I say, how you are gonna, how you see this work, because for now you... NFT.
Real digital thing, very new, trendy now becoming, when you,
so
can sell the
very
right
new and
of
trendy.
owning a digital piece of art.
Exactly. It's like, if, for example, if Helen wants to sell one of these prints, but instead of selling just like a screen printing, you sell it as a file.
Yeah.
So you sell it as an NFT.
Like evidence of owning that. Legal owning that.
Yeah, you have
private copy or something.
You have your signature and everything, of the artist. I say, okay, that's fine. I understand you. NFT, new word, but it's a file.
I still haven't figured out what exactly it is.
For me, it's like, look, it's a file. This is many years ago. The people is selling
can
files.
earn a lot of money.
Now they call it NFT. Fine, but it's just a file. You send the file, you send, like a document that you are selling that file, and then you can do whatever you want. You can have it in your iPad, you can have it in a projection.
But so can the person that buys the file, the NFT, can they print off?
Depends on who you have been selling.
Depends on terms and conditions.
Depends of condition. Terms of condition.
Well,
that's really good.
I do need to just. I need to get this in there, and hopefully it will be included.
In a material world, you're buying an artwork, for example, a material work, and you're signing a contract, which confirming your rights of owning that, and in particular terms and conditions. And
of course.
You both
so the terms that you can't reproduce that.
Well, more
depending. Maybe
more than a contract is like when you buy a piece of art and of an artist that is quite high, and then you have like the signature of the the paper saying this is the edition 5 of this piece, or it's one piece, unique or whatever. So with the signature of the artist, so it's the paper that recognize that is from that artist.
See, I've bought a few artworks and they have their prints and they have authentication with them, with details of what I'm allowed to do with that
Exactly.
work.
No, so it's the same.
But it's interesting. I need to tell this quite a funny story. When we was doing our final show, I may have told you this story before. When we was doing our final show, we asked at London Met, and we have to fundraise for our final show. So we do all different things. We have exhibitions, cake sales, whatever. Well, we had an auction. And so what we do...
I gave a photo.
You did give a photo, did it say?
For your,
Excellent.
You know what was the photo? Go on. How many inches?
Oh, it was how many inches?
And Xavier say, 10 inches, 10 pounds. And it was sold for 10 pounds.
That's so funny. That was such an amazing... We did have an amazing auction. I had Kat and James dressed in drag to bring the auction. Do you remember? No,
I wasn't in that day. I wasn't. Gabriel. I couldn't go that day.
It was such a fun show. Anyway, but as we was organising it, we was asking, most of the tutors at most art universities, art schools are practicing artists, but they have to teach to make money.
All the professors usually they are practicing artists. Usually.
So we'd asked obviously all the tutors to donate a piece of work that we could sell in our auction. We asked a particular tutor who is a painter, but also makes screen prints, I think, or they do printing. And we asked this artist, and he was always, he was a tutor, and he handed over quite arrogantly, I've got to say.
We're not going to say the name of the tutor.
We're not going to say the name. If you know who you are, you know who you are.
Artistic person is almost
anyway,
complicated.
An artistic person was working there. And bless, it was one of the younger students who's a very, very good friend of mine. I'm not going to mention her as well. She said, I will ask them for an artwork. So she asked them in the corridors of the CAS, of the art school, and in his arms he had, do you remember we used to get feedback forms and it was duplicated copies? So they had these pads that were for tutorials and it was feedback forms. And he wrote on it, make your own fucking art, and signed it and ripped off the 2 copies.
That's brilliant, actually.
Right, so he ripped it off and said, art. The young artist who got the work said, this is what this tutor has given us for our art show. And we all sort of went, well, what the fuck is that? That's not a work of art. What should we do with it? And someone within the group said, well, why don't we run off loads of photocopies and sell them all for a penny?
Well, but this is where
But then all of a sudden the artist got wind of it and thought, no, you ain't doing that. So we couldn't do it. So we did sell the original artwork.
Oh.
But we were coming back to the topic now.
I know who bought it, and I was like, please don't let it go for loads of money because I didn't want it to, and it didn't. I think it went for a tenner. He's interested in I couldn't give a toss, as you know. I just like things.
Yeah, it's better.
I mean, it needs to be free.
It does. We're on to
Education in any level needs to be free. That's true.